Welcome to the replay and hello, tea family. I just want to say if you're joining us, please say hello in the chat or comment. Happy March. Or maybe I should say happy snow day. So, although it was in the mid to high 70s yesterday, today, for whatever reason, we have snow. So that has changed some of what we're doing today just a little bit because the weather didn't get the spring memo. So we're going to change things up. We are going to be brewing our Emerald Garden today, which is what I talked about in the title and in the description. This is a wonderful green tea blend that has a mix of jasmine green tea, kind of adding some of the floral notes and a hint of sweetness, as well as a buttery sencha green tea and a couple other blends of green tea thrown in, But we have gone from the mid 70s yesterday. We're having a good deal of snow right now, and then we're going to be in the 80s in a couple of days. So this is the perfect time to change things up a little bit and say it's our monthly Q&A. So we get to change things up, and we're going to talk about spring, whether it be the winter spring or the spring. I mean, who knows? But we're going to be answering your questions live. I'm brewing up a very special treat today. So drop a snowflake in the chat if it's snowing where you are right now. I'm interested to see who has snow and who doesn't have snow at this moment. Because yesterday, literally, we were at an event. Otherwise, I could have sat out in the sunshine and tried to get a suntan. But today, I would be getting frostbite. So we are going to say, really wanted to make a mocktail today using Emerald Garden. I love doing that. It's such a great, refreshing tea. However, I am not in the mood for a mocktail when it's this chilly outside. So, all right. One of the things that I wanted to talk about, and I'll do a little bit more with the, actually, let's go ahead and get started right now. So let's talk more about that Emerald Garden. As you can see, it's a lovely blend of the green teas. Now, one of the reasons why this one took a little bit longer is neither my handy dandy assistant, who's sitting over there, nor myself really like that bite of the green tea afterwards. Now, if I want to have something tangy or it has a bite to it, then that's the flavor I'm looking for. But that's not necessarily the flavor I want in a straight tea blend. So this blend that has jasmine and sencha and basically teas from China and Japan really allows you to get that sweetness to balance out, and so you don't get the bitter aftertaste. But as you can see, a lovely, vibrant green, kind of how I wish it was outside right this second. And it is green. There's just this white stuff all over it. Thought we were done with that. But I'm actually going to brew something a little bit different. So what I'm brewing today is going to start with a jade chai. And this is our green tea chai. It has a blend of green teas. It has cinnamon, cardamom, and clove in it. And it is how we often describe a softer tea jade blend. And the reason why we have it as a softer one, because it had to balance the lightness of the green tea. So, although we're talking primarily about Emerald Garden today, we're going to use this jade chai, and I'm going to brew something. Now, one of the reasons why this is my favorite infuser is you can see how wide it is, because when you have a nice big glass like this, so many of the other ones will only come like this and they'll fall in, and that's not fun because then you just get tea leaves and everything. So I really like this one, and I have pre-measured my 2.5 grams. Now, green tea needs to be brewed between 175 to 180. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. Oh, Diane's enjoying appealing. I like it. All right. So if I could get 1 minute on the clock, please. And Stephanie's having onyx chai. Yes, I love that white infuser too. Welcome, Diane, I love the fact that you're having a peeling. And Stephanie, I hope it's not snowing at your house like it's snowing at my house, because we're actually starting to get accumulation here. But yes, I'm using the jade chai. So I wanted that softer chai, so the chai blend of the spices did not overwhelm. But this is a green tea, so 175 to 180. And you are going to definitely want to brew this for 1 minute. Now, because we're doing something different and I'm not talking about what it is right now, I'm actually going to probably give it an extra few seconds past when my handy dandy assistant takes it to come out. So we're going to go ahead and go to one of the questions I got asked yesterday at the event. But I also want you to put your questions that you have in the chat or comments, because Rich will be monitoring them and letting me know so that I can answer them live for you. Okay. So the first question is the new tea season actually better, or is it just marketing? Okay, it's real. We don't necessarily call it a new tea season. We call it the first flush. It's time? Okay. We call it the first flush. The first spring harvest of the tea leaves has the highest concentration of L-theanine within the tea leaves. It is considered the champagne of tea. It is almost always going to be your best choice of teas to enjoy. So we don't call it the new tea season, but we do call it the first flush. That first cutting is always going to be the most flavorful, the most delicate, and definitely something that you want to enjoy in that first flush. Okay, so I've given this probably an extra 30 seconds, so I went a minute and a half. We're actually going to let that sit for a second before we go much further. Okay. I know I'm keeping everybody in suspense, but I wanted to answer some of the questions first. Okay, so we're going to get back to green tea. Somebody asked me, they tried some yesterday and they're like, it wasn't bitter, which was surprising to them. And so then they said, what am I doing wrong? Well, most of the time, what I find is that people are burning their green tea. You really want to be about 175 to 180 degrees, not boiling water. So you can watch the bubbles, or if you don't have an electric tea kettle like this that kind of sets your temperatures, you can just go ahead, boil the water, and then wait 2 minutes after the water has been boiled. And what I would say is not leaving it in the kettle. If the kettle is like a 4 or 5 quart, you may have to wait a little bit longer. But if you just have a small container, or you want to go ahead and pour it in, then to wait 2 minutes and then go ahead and brew your tea, add your infuser, etc. And the reason why you want to do that is because then you can go ahead and brew it. Now, the other thing is, if it is just a green tea blend with no freeze-dried fruit in it, you can go ahead and brew the first 1 minute for the first brew, 2 for the second, 3 for the third. And if it is freeze-dried, then you want to add an extra minute. So it would be 2 minutes for the first brew, 3 for the second, and 4 for the third. That extra minute is needed with the freeze-dried fruits to really kind of rehydrate and add the flavor. Okay. Diane's asking, I saw something the other day on the internet that said green tea on an empty stomach is not good for you. Is this true? Okay. So yes and no. Some people have stomachs that are a little more sensitive to caffeine, or they overbrew their tea so that they get a higher tannic acid, and that can upset your stomachs. It is nice to have tea with something in the mornings. However, if your stomach is not upset, then you should be good to go. As always, you've got to really, health is an individual thing. For instance, I can drink a black tea with the first brew with all the caffeine in it, and then 15 minutes later, I can go to bed and go to sleep and I'm good. If Rich tries to do that, he's going to be up all night, all day, and probably part of the next night, because there's just too much caffeine all at once. So right before bedtime. Now, earlier in his life, he could do that, but not anymore. So what they're trying to do is especially if the tea is bitter or has high in tannic acids. And if you burn your tea or you overbrew that green tea, like so many people will do, then it can upset your stomach. So hopefully that will answer your question. It's one of those, I can't definitively say yes or no. It depends on a couple of things. So okay. So thought this was a great question. And it is, can I use tea as a natural way to dye Easter eggs? Yes, yes, absolutely. Different teas produce different colors. We are definitely going to talk about this more next week during our Sunday live. But I loved that question because it's a new one and it's not one that you get a lot of the time. So, alrighty then. Then I must have hogged up all the caffeine. Do you see? Apparently you did, Diane. You know, like I said, he's been able to do it for a long time. I think it probably has to do with the huge volume of coffee that ruined his stomach lining or his caffeine, or it could have been all the fact that the army doesn't keep him up 24/7 anymore. I don't know, but yeah, he typically is better if he doesn't have caffeine right before he goes to bed, whereas it doesn't affect me. Okay, what is the other question we got asked yesterday is what is the best tea for springtime allergies? So, like I said, we were having weather in the 70s and 80s pretty consistently here, you know, an occasional 60 something day. And so yesterday, I think we hit, in some places hit almost 80. And so allergy season is here. And people want to try and treat their allergies much more naturally, which is a wonderful thing to do. Always start with that first. And then if that doesn't help, then yes, that's what modern medicine is for. But peppermint heavy blends like green mint and evening mint, the menthol in the peppermint is a natural decongestant. That is always helpful. Okay. Um, just making sure the comments aren't for me. It's just sibling bickering. That's all. Rooibos is actually a natural antihistamine and antihistamatic. And it's caffeine free. So again, if caffeine is one of those things that bothers you, rooibos can often help. Another thing to consider is ginger has anti-inflammatory properties, which can, in some cases, work similarly to an antihistamine. So those are different things to consider. But as always, you know, start with something like that. Start with tea. Start with the natural homeopathic stuff. And if it doesn't work, then don't be afraid to go to modern medicine to get those allergies because they can be significant. All right. Okay, there we go. Obviously, we know we can re-steep tea. That was another question. Higher quality loose leaf tea is kind of a gift that keeps on giving. Like Emerald Garden, you can brew it at least 3 times. Now, I know other people who brew it even more. So, for instance, this is not the first brew of Emerald Garden. This is the third brew, and you can still see the color is pretty light right now. It's lighter than it normally would. But this is still has that beautiful light fresh aroma. I still will taste that tea. That is one of those things that you can always do. So wanted to clear that up. Okay, I keep looking down for comments, everybody. So this was another question I was surprised to get. What is the hot flashing brewing trend? Okay. So what is it? It is a trend that I don't know who started it. Somebody's marketing department started it. It is the idea that you brew your tea hot for 4 minutes and then you immediately add ice to flash the flavor or kind of seal it in. Now, is that a thing? Yes. Yes, you can do that. It is great for something like Emerald Garden because this is a tea that is just as delicious cold. I typically don't add the ice and flash the flavor. And this is where I come in with somebody's marketing came up with it. One of the reasons why you don't want to just dump in ice Plain ice is because then that's going to water down your tea. And so then you have to brew it stronger and you go through more tea. So you have to buy more tea more frequently. Better way to do it is go ahead, make your tea, and then don't flash brew it the first time, but make some tea ice cubes. So I could make some Emerald Garden ice cubes with this, pour it in an ice tray, and then the next time I brewed my Emerald Garden hot, I could then add Emerald Garden ice cubes to it to flash the flavor, and then it would be perfect because I am not at that point watering down my flavor at all. I'm using my second or my third brew to go ahead and make those ice cubes for the future. That is going to be much more beneficial. You don't go through as much tea and you get all your brews. So, but it is something nice. It does kind of seal in some of the flavor right away. The idea is that we've talked about this before, when you brew at different temperatures, this is a way to brew really hot and get the full flavor and then have it be cool enough to drink. Typically what we will do, sorry everybody, I am just watching the snow accumulate outside. Typically what we'll do is we'll brew it hot, we'll let it cool a little bit, and then we put it in the fridge. That's our preferred method because then I don't need ice to flash it or anything like that. Okay. Lemon zinger is great for the allergies. The citrus tends to help clear up, but the ginger in there is really, it's going to be that wonderful for you. There are a lot of things, it's local honey, local bee pollen, but you have to make sure it's actual, real, raw local honey or actual local bee pollen. Some goldenrod honey is also a good thing because it's going to help with the allergens from your particular reason. But yeah, those are all great ideas. Okay. That's okay, Diane. You can spell allergy I-E or Y. We're all good here. We're all good here. I was telling someone yesterday when we were talking about Earl's Blend, one of the reasons why we call our Earl Grey Earl's Blend is because my grandparents came from Great Britain, as many of you may know. And so they spell gray, G-R-E-Y. So every time I saw it growing up from my grandparents, it was G-R-E-Y. And in the United States, we spell it G-R-A-Y. Well, I get confused sometimes, and I'm like, wait, which way is the correct way? Which is the US way? Is it A-Y? Is it E-Y? And then I was thinking people are going to look at it, and it's kind of a British blend, and so I should probably use the E-Y, but then they're going to think I spelled gray wrong. And I was like, you know what? We're just not even going to worry about spelling. We're just going to say Earl's Blend, and people immediately understand what it is. But yeah, it's one of those things I'm like, I don't want to have to spell this word, so how can we redo this? That happens sometimes. Okay. I love this next question. Which tea pairs best with Easter chocolate? Now, I'm just saying somebody's got their priorities on their Easter chocolate already, which is kind of fun. But minty greens. If you like thin mints, then you can think of it kind of as like a liquid thin mint. You've got the chocolate, and then you're going to have that green mint, light, refreshing tea. Perfect combination right there. All right, so that is one of the questions we got last time for their chocolate dough. Okay, why should we use loose leaf tea over bags? So one reason, well, I know I'm going to go with one. The first reason for me is always going to be flavor. The loose leaf tea, when you allow it to expand fully, you are good to go. You are really allowing all the flavor to come out. That is reason number one for me. But reason number two is the bags are often filled with dust and fannings. The really broken down, it's dust. I don't know. It looks like dust. Loose leaf is more the whole leaf. You're going to get more flavor. But the other thing I want to talk about is there have been quite a few studies, and I do get a lot of notices on articles about tea for obvious reasons, but the National Institute of Health put out a study in 2025 that said the average supermarket typical bagged tea, if you brew it for 5 minutes at 95 degrees Celsius, so just below boiling, around 200 degrees, after 5 minutes in the water, you will release 11.6 billion microplastics and 3.1 billion nanoplastics. And so let me just say those numbers again. 5 minutes of brewing, 11.6 billion with a B microplastics and 3.1 billion with a B nanoplastics into your cup because of the bags. So that's not something I want. Also, one of the reasons why I brought this one up is because health.com had an article that they released on March 1st of 2026. So March 1st this year, just a few days ago, a couple weeks ago. Tea bags release. They also were doing studies on how much tea bags release microplastics when brewed. So that's one of the reasons why when you see me use a bag for certain things, it is 100% cotton, or it's 100% Muslim, no metals, no plastics, nothing like that. And they're way bigger. So you're always better off going with something like a stainless steel infuser or brewing tea from whole leaf. Just wanted you to be aware of those studies, especially with the one coming out a couple of weeks ago. So, okay. Which one? Oh, okay. All right, so we're going to pause questions here for a second, and I'm going to build this drink. I really wanted to make a mocktail. Like, I really, really wanted to make a mocktail today with my Emerald Garden and have some cold and then have some with the mocktail, because normally my handy dandy assistant ends up stealing my special drinks. But as I said, we have snow accumulating actively outside today, and literally so much wind, it's not even funny. So what I brewed here is jade chai, which I can't show you anymore because I brewed it. No, I talked about Emerald Garden earlier, but I brewed jade chai today for this. And what I'm going to make is a chai mocha latte. Okay. Now, I've brewed my tea. This is basically not going to be a hot chocolate. This is not a cuddle in a cup, but this is going to be a green tea chai chocolate latte, sort of. Okay, so we're going to add this. If you wanted to add sweetness at this point, you could. I'm not adding my sweetness here. I would go with like a honey simple sugar, or even a regular simple sugar, a simple syrup, excuse me. But that is because I made some homemade chocolate sauce. Does everybody see that? Like, it's hard with the lighting here. It's a nice deep chocolate sauce. I want a mocha. I want to enjoy my tea, but I want a hint of the hot chocolate kind of a flavor. So I made this up. I added my sugar in here, and I used organic cane sugar. But this is where, if you wanted to add your honey, you could put it in here. This can also be made completely unsweetened. So brewed a regular. And then I'm just going to spoon. I mean, that's like about a teaspoon of chocolate. And all I'm going to do is stir it up. And then the chocolate's going to sit on there because it sat. I made it earlier. So you see my chocolate sitting there. And I'm going to stir this. Okay, so I'm getting the cinnamon and I'm getting the spices and I have a hint of the green tea. And then I have some chocolate on the top. So far, it smells really, really amazing. This is also why I let it cool for a second, even though it wasn't boiling water, but I really wanted to. Like, see, it's in there now. All right. Now, it's a latte, right? So I have to add my foam. Okay, nobody tell. It had chocolate on it. I had to get rid of it. Plus, Rich and I are the only ones that are going to be actually eating this whipped cream, so it's okay. I decided to go with my whipped cream so that I could drop it on the top and do my gradual. A lot of times I'll try and do foam on here, but I just went ahead and made up some homemade whipped cream. That way we can use it for hot chocolate, which is probably what he will have tonight after this. All right. And, just a little bit. Now, if I wanted, this is the perfect time if I wanted a hint of mint to put like some mocha mint on top. You could put cinnamon on top. You've already got cinnamon in your base. You could sprinkle some of your jade chai on top, or you could take and put a pinch of dark cocoa powder, chocolate nibs, cacao nibs, a couple of chocolate chips on top. If they're the mini ones, they'll actually sit on top. And there you go. There is your jade chai mocha latte. And as you can see, I've got the chai latte. Let's see if you can see those lines. Let's see, right in here, coming up. And they're starting to kind of like delve in. So I'm going to let that sit for a second before I take my first sip.
It goes good with chocolate.
Now, it is St. Patrick's Day weekend for many of us. So I thought I would make a fun little topping. It's just got 2 little marshmallows and a strawberry for a little bit. But I've got my little shamrock. See, there you go. You can see my little shamrock on top. And just lean it right across like that. Chocolate, cinnamon, strawberries, it's all going to add amazing layers of flavor for your mocha. Now, I'm going to be nice. I'm going to let him have the sugar bomb of the strawberry and the marshmallows. So,
yay.
I will save that for him. Okay. So as you can see, this is starting to change in the lines. There's a tiny little line right here, but I can't wait anymore. It smells too good. Stephanie says she blended freeze-dried strawberries and added them to whipping cream to make a strawberry cold foam, and it was amazing. Absolutely. That is what I love. You wanted to make this kind of a start. That is so good. I distracted myself. Okay. That is the kind of stuff I love, because you wanted to add some strawberry in there. You want to have a traditional tea. Or Harmony's coming up in a couple of weeks. I know it'll be available soon for our VIPs. That email will probably be going out next week. That is a green tea, strawberry, and orange zest. And you wanted to put that with an even more strawberry, or you wanted to do one of our other teas and add the strawberry flavor in. That's how you can do it. You can do that with freeze-dried fruits. I know we have some pineapple fans here. You could do the same thing with pineapple and make something taste a lot more tropical by adding something in there like that with the freeze-dried fruit. Absolutely. I love that idea. Thank you, Stephanie. All right. So when I enjoy this, I have to say this is not a hot chocolate. Okay. This is not a kettle in a cup, but it starts with the green tea. Then I get kind of my chai spices in there. And it has a chocolatey, creamy chocolatey finish. So kind of like the whipped cream and the chocolate. But I didn't put a lot of chocolate in here. So it is not overwhelmingly, I'm not drinking chocolate. I am definitely tasting the jade chai. I'm surprised it's still here and he hasn't stolen any yet. No, you can have a sip. You can't take it all though. It's really, really good. The green tea in the jade chai actually helps cut some of the extra creaminess of the whipped cream so that you can get more of the flavor out of it. Yeah, you can have your berry stick too. Yeah, it's super yummy. We'll have to make it more often.
That is.
Yeah, I know. Jade chai is one of those blends that just surprise you. Okay. So that is true. I did add a little vanilla extract to the chocolate syrup when I made it, but you could add chocolate extract in there too. So yeah, there you go. All right. When we are talking about, and let's talk about back to Emerald Garden, people. That's what we're supposed to be talking about today. I just really wanted the latte. But and you could make a latte out of a straight green tea. I guess for me, it's more adding the foam and adding the milk product to it. I feel like I have to have something else. I feel like I have to have the spices or the chocolate or something else. But you could make a green tea latte with just like this. If you wanted, you didn't want the spices of the chai, you could do the chocolate just like this. It's just, it's not my personal favorite, which is why I went to the jade chai today. But Emerald Garden, what's the difference between I talked primarily, there's two blends in here. There's the jasmine green tea and there is the sencha tea in here. Keep in mind that sencha is steamed, so it gets a fresh, grassy green base. A lot of times people will say that sencha has kind of a buttery flavor to it. But jasmine has been scented with jasmine blossoms, and so they have a high-end floral note and a sweetness that together become like a power couple. And so it is one of those things that it works really, really well, whereas you have the rest of the kind of the green teas in there kind of filling up that base and depth of flavors. So anytime you are blending two teas together or ingredients together, you want to have that. You want to have complementary and contrasting, but you definitely want to have some depth of flavor. I don't want it to taste just like one thing. If we added too much cinnamon to our jade chai or the chai spices to the jade chai, I'm going to overwhelm it. If I put too much sencha in an Emerald Garden blend, then you're only going to taste sencha. You're not going to notice any of the softness of the jasmine or the green or the other notes. So that is one of the things. So another question, is it too late to buy winter teas? March is our bridge. So Winter's Kiss and Starlight Pear end on March 31st. And then we bridge into Harmony, which is one of our spring blends. That will be starting April 1st for everybody, a little earlier for our VIPs. So it's not too late, but now is the time if you're going to want those winter teas. Okay. Let's see. Let me take a sip. So one of the things I was asked is, what is something unusual about a green tea that people don't necessarily know? And I am really focused on green teas today because it was an Irish fest around St. Patrick's Day, so there was a lot of Irish and green going on. And one of the things people may not be aware of is that the jasmine green tea has been scientifically proven to help lower your heart rate. It therefore helps you produce some calm energy, so to speak. And so that's one of the reasons, but it has that softness and those floral notes and everything like that. So Emerald Garden, what are we going to pair this with? Okay, first choice, not something that is common now in the States as much as when I was younger, and that is hot cross buns. So the dried fruit and spices in the buns kind of pull out the cinnamon in a chai, but they also sit really well and bring out full flavor with just the Emerald Garden. Jasmine will also help cleanse the palate a little bit, so you get to really kind of get that burst of flavor every time. Okay. One of the things that I did want to talk about too is that the lemon lavender shortbread cookies that you will have, the lemon is going to pull out kind of some of the grassy notes in the sencha. The lavender is going to kind of mirror some of the floral notes in the jasmine green tea. So you're really going to kind of get that in the notes, kind of like spring in a bite. Another thing you would pair really well with the Emerald Garden is any kind of sushi or sashimi, specifically if it's made with salmon. Very classical Japanese pairing. Sencha acts like the liquid ginger, so to speak. It's also cleansing the palate from the fatty fish, whereas the jasmine's adding the floral finish to the salt. Okay, we've been talking a little bit about Easter. Honey glazed carrots, which are delicious, but since we're March and almost Easter kind of thing, This is a perfect side dish to really highlight the natural sweetness of the carrots and the honey against the teas in the Emerald Garden. Now, if we're contrasting, I know I've mentioned this before, salt and vinegar chips. It's wild, I get it, but the acidity of the vinegar really balanced against the creaminess and the soft flavors in the Emerald Garden green tea. Now, I talked about this kind of in the title and in the description, but pizza and Emerald Garden are an amazing pair. Unusual, I get it. Specifically pairing our Emerald Garden with a hot slice of pizza sounds crazy, but here's why it's actually a culinary hack. If you're doing a white pizza with spinach or garlic, the sencha in the blend is going to be the star. Sencha has a umami kind of savory profile that acts like a liquid seasoning for the cheese. The jasmine is going to add the floral lift, so the garlic isn't going to feel so heavy. And then the other green, everything with the green tea filling in depth of flavor. It's going to be very sophisticated. It's going to bring some freshness and basically help bring kind of like that, that garden scent part to the pizza. If you want the perfect contrast, then you're going to go with a classic pepperoni or a spicy sausage pizza. Meat lovers, this is for you. The pepperoni lover, this is going to be an unusual match. I get it, but the pizza is going to typically be salty from the meats and the cheese, and it's going to be a little bit greasier with the meats and everything like that. But the jasmine in the Emerald Garden is going to actually a natural palate cleanser. We talked about that before. It's going to kind of cut through that oil from the pepperoni. Whereas if you had a black tea with pizza, the tannins are they're going to fight kind of the acidic nature of the tomato sauce. Whereas Emerald Garden has that lightness. It's going to allow the herbs in the sauce to actually shine and be really, really refreshing. So there you go. All right. If we are talking, any other questions? Okay. Just going to keep sipping on this. All right. I'm going to tell you the dirty secret of the white chocolate pairing with this one: white chocolate and sea salt. White chocolate is mostly cocoa butter and sugar. The sencha is going to kind of melt the fat on the tongue, and the sea salt is going to really bring the jasmine aroma and make that flavor explode. So there you go. There is one, especially if you are not a chocolate person. I do know some people that are allergic to chocolate and they have white chocolate instead. This is the tea you want to have with that. Also, one of the reasons why you want to have a charcuterie board needs a why your charcuterie board needs a teapot is because if you have some goat cheese and apricot jam, this is the time of year I really love apricots. I don't think it's the season for apricots, but I love it. The goat cheese is going to be the kind of the funky, the tart versus balancing that floral sweetness of the jasmine green tea. It's going to soften the tartness, whereas the sencha can handle the creaminess of it. And again, this is the only tea. Emerald Garden is one of the only teas that can really handle a green curry heat. So anything that you do with green curry, this is the tea that you want with that. Emerald Garden is going to be your go-to. The jasmine tea is just a very traditional companion to any type of Thai food, but sencha in the blend adds a grassy layer that's really going to match the fresh herbs that you find of cilantro and basil in the curry. Okay. I wanted to talk a little bit. People are getting ready for Easter, and I know I told you one of the things that we're going to talk about next week. But again, I told you about one of the questions they had. Another question came up and say, which tea is perfect and can save that special cream egg? So the Cadbury cream eggs, those are a bold choice. They need a bold choice to go with them because they have an extreme amount of sugar, which is actually kind of overwhelming. But if you did a nice strong brew of Emerald Garden, it's going to cut through that sugar film that gets on your teeth, and it's going to leave that floral aftertaste. That is a great way to enjoy those Cadbury eggs or those cream-filled eggs if you enjoy them and not be overwhelmed by the sugar. This is where I won't put any sugar in my tea because I'm eating it next to it. Whereas this, my latte, I will, only because I'm not having anything sugary with it. So another unusual might be the deviled eggs with chives. Eggs are notoriously hard to pair with wines, but they really work well with teas. And that's because kind of the natural sulfur in the egg becomes neutralized by the polyphenols in like a sencha tea. And then the chives are going to also match the grassy notes in that. So that gives you a couple of ideas of things you might want to, reasons why you might want to have some Emerald Garden at your Easter dinner. It will work. Did any other questions come in while I was chatting? No. Okay, that's okay. Do want to remind everybody of a couple of things. We are having our Mother's Day Tea and Treasures live sale on April 17th. If you are ready for the once a year Aloha Breeze, this is your week. That is your sale, because that's the sale once a year, the Mother's Day one, where Aloha Breeze is available, and then it goes back in the vault for another year. So there you go. There's your warning. There's your heads up. I know there's a couple people out there that are already, I had one member of our tea family already telling me she's counting how much she's gone through for the year so she could figure out how much to purchase for this year. So it's kind of funny. And then I do want to mention that we are having our tea blending class. That is going to be April 25th. It's a Saturday. It's going to be in the afternoon. So if you want to learn the basics of how to blend your own tea, kind of create your own tea flavors, tea blends, and how we do all that, you can do that. We are going to have in person, as well as I will hook up the camera, and we are going to be able to do some on-camera stuff, so those that live farther away can join us. Now, Diane is very excited about something. I'm not sure which thing it was, because I was just talking about Aloha Breeze, and then I went into the tea blending class. But if you have already purchased your seat to the tea and treasure, or to the tea blending class, I just need you to let me know whether your box needs to have black teas, green teas, or completely caffeine free, because we are going to make up those boxes to match. Also, if you have any food intolerances or allergies, please let me know. One of my friends is allergic to basically anything with citric acid in it. Actually, a couple of my friends, anything with citric acid in it. I have another one that's allergic to cinnamon, another one that's allergic to peppermint. So I get it. I don't want to put something you're allergic to in your tea blending kit. So these will be kind of specialized, ideally just based on whether you want to do a black tea, a green tea, or a caffeine free. But also, if you have anything that you're allergic to, I'm just going to leave that out and I can substitute something else in. So Aloha Breeze, of course, that's what I thought, Diane. It was the Aloha Breeze. That's a fun one. In fact, I saw the jar that I saw the container that we have our freeze-dried mango in. I thought, we're going to have to start making that pretty soon. So that is the tea blending classes on April 25th. We have our Mother's Day Tea and Treasures live sale on April 17th. That's where we'll have the Aloha Breeze. And then we are going to be here next Sunday at 6 Central Time. Any other questions? All right, everybody. Give you an extra second in case you had any questions. Thanks for joining me, talking about both Emerald Garden and a Jade Mocha Latte is what we're going to call it. And it was delicious. It is delicious. I highly encourage you to try it. That being said, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Happy St. Patrick's Day this week. I think that's on Tuesday officially. And we will see you all next week. Have a good one, everybody.